Artists, and welcome to Sculpture Clay Level F. Let's get started. So let's see what we're doing today. It says, I can create and follow a plan. I can create using a paper template. Add clean details, add clean textures, create a 3D form, and slip and score correctly. All right, so in my sketchbook, I'm thinking three-dimensional. So we took our box from last time, and now we're making more interesting figures, but three-dimensional still. Okay, so I've decided to go ahead and do my first initial in my name, and I'm going to make that three-dimensional. So I've drawn it here as an idea, and I've drawn it three-dimensionally as well. All right, so first things first, we are going to talk about first how we are needing to make a template. So here what I've already gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and I have cut out, just out of some white paper, a K for my first initial. And because my K needs to sit like three-dimensionally, kind of like a box, and it's going to be hollow inside, because if I add a bunch of slabs on top of each other, it won't dry out and it will not go well in the kiln. So what I've done is I've kind of mapped out how long this kind of lip needs to be, and that way my K can just kind of sit right on top of that. All right, so I've gone ahead and I have already cut out the part of my K, the forward part of my K out of a slab, and you can see here I've added some really cool textures to it, but now I need to go ahead and do the other one. So I've rolled out this slab, and I'm going to get this K on here, and I'm going to go ahead and take my needle tool, and I need to get these out of the way now, and I'm going to just cut around it. I'm going kind of fast here for the sake of video making, and remember I'm going kind of up or on its side. I'm not just going up and down. I'm going kind of on its side to use the needle tool. All right, now that I have that, what I'll want to do is I'll want to just take the whole thing off, kind of like a cookie, and just rip it off. But if I do that, I run the risk of it being not cut in places and then ripping my K apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of peel it up, and at places where it wants to pull away, I'm going to just kind of cut it, kind of put it over off to the side. Again, places where it wants to pull away, I'm just going to cut it away. Kind of like a big old cookie cutter. I don't want to lose all the work that I have worked so hard to get so far. Okay? All right. And we are also using an amount of clay. The slab that I had done was more clay than what I'm usually using. Normally I just use that ball in my hand where my fingers barely close, but I'm using more clay today because this is a bigger structure. All right, now that I have that, I want to take a look at the fact that in order to get my textures on both sides, one K will need to be backwards and one will need to be forwards, so that I can have texture on both sides, because this part will be the inside underneath here. That will be the inside. So I want to make sure that I have, it doesn't matter what I'm building, I want to make sure that I'm having one opposite the other. So I'm going to go ahead and get those textures on. I'm using one of these cool little fun texture plates here. I'm just going to put it right on here and get it squished in. One of the things that I am doing today is creating strong textures, clean, strong textures. And to do that, I want to make sure that this is completely squished in. I'm going just a little fast, but I want to make sure that I'm taking the time to make sure that my textures are showing up. Like I'm getting them pressed in, and so that we can clearly see them. I'm getting them right up next to each other. And such. All right, now this way too, when my textures are on, if I add them afterwards, then they won't show up, they'll get squished. But this way, my textures will show up. So I'm gonna get these kind of set off to the side here, and we're gonna keep going so that both of these are ready to go. All right, now let's talk about wedging. wedging our clay. So when we have all these scraps, now we have bunches of air bubbles inside, and we need to get it re-squished into a ball so we can use it as a slab again. So when I'm doing this, I'll show you with the smaller one. When I'm re-wedging my clay, what I want to do is I want to kind of use both hands kind of like a cup, and I want to kind of cup it in, but I'm not squishing it down. Cup it towards myself so that I'm going to end up making something that kind of looks like a dog face or like a cow face maybe, but I'm not really squishing it on top of each other. I'm not folding it in half. I'm squishing it down and away from myself, in towards myself and away, like I'm rocking it back and forth, and I can go multiple ways. I will wedge this until I can't see any of these lines. So right now I have a bunch of lines in here. I will keep wedging this and doing this rocking motion until I cannot see any of these lines anymore, and I have something that kind of looks like this again. There's not very many lines in it at all. So I've already re-wedged this one. All right, and now when I'm gonna wedge this just a little bit more, because this slab that I'm gonna do next is super long and skinny. So when I'm re-wedging this, I could keep changing directions, but in this case, I'm not going to change directions because I want it to be kind of a long, skinny tube. So get this into kind of a longer, skinnier tube. I might need to move it. There we go. All right, and now when I am building this long, skinny tube, I need to make sure that I pound it out in the right direction. Here we go. I'm gonna get this slab kind of pounded out towards where I need to go. I might kind of get it up on its side. I am getting this pounded out with a purpose. I want to get all that long work done, and I'm noticing as I am purposefully getting this moved, I notice it's jumping and getting a whole lot longer. So I want to go ahead and get this all moved out. For the sake of video, I'm going to do some movie magic here and get this pounded out and rolled out. Uh-oh. All right, I've gotten this all pounded out and started for myself. Now, again, I'm going to take my guides here, and I'm going to get this rolled out so it's the right thickness. And I'm going to make sure that I'm kind of trying to keep it skinny because this is such a long piece. I want to make sure I have enough. Sometimes the biggest thing that happens with slabs is that we don't quite have enough clay. It doesn't quite get long enough. If that happens, you can just make another slab and cut out the parts you need and slip and score it together. But I'm trying my best here to get it into one slab. So I'm going to kind of work with it as I go down. We're going to turn our camera angle here just a little bit. You'll notice as I'm moving this, you'll notice it moves. It's jumping forward. So notice how I went this way first towards myself, and now I'm moving away. Now I'm moving away from myself. All right, I'm going to keep going here, and I'm kind of going to, I'm going to squish those together. Get that slab nice and tight so it rolls the direction like I want to, like a big pie crust. Almost there. Hopefully this will be long enough. It's going all over the table. Let's get us moved this way. All the things. This is a really long slab. Okay. Remember, my slab is completely rolled out. When I can freely roll it over itself, sometimes this might happen and cause little divots in your clay. You can just kind of rub them out, and you also want to get that extra clay removed from your rolling pin. Let's see if this is long enough. Oh, just a tidge more. I was so close. Okay, means I just need this just little bitty extra bit on the end right there. Okay, it is it is long enough. Oh, that was so close. Okay, so now that this is long enough, I am going to go ahead and get this cut out. I'm just going to take my needle tool here and get this all kind of cuts out. I want to stay right up against the line here, and I'm going to tear this away. I will re-wedge it when I'm done. Put that in my pile that I still need to re-wedge for later. Okay, now that I have this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be slipping and scoring it together. This is a really, really long piece. So when I go to slip and score this together, let's get our camera angle correct again. There we go. Again, I'm going to get my slip here. I'm going to want to make sure that I slip the sides without my texture that I've put on my K here. So I am going to get the slip, and I am going to kind of score along here. Sometimes you'll find that we slip and score together. Now I don't really care how messy this is because it's on the inside, and I'm just taking my needle tool for this and getting it just slipped up real fast, or scored up real fast, and then I'll add in my slip on each side. So for the sake of movie magic making, I am going to go ahead and get both of my K's scored and slipped and ready to go. All right, hello again. I have also gone ahead and scored the edges of this really, really, really long slab, and then I've gotten this part all slipped up. All right, because this is going to be sitting right on top. All right, so now I might need to have a friend help me with this, but now I'm going to start to lift this giant slab. I want to get those corners nice and tight, and I'm listening for those clay farts. I'm listening for the clay farts, but I'm going to want to get this right on top of this edge here. I'm going to keep going. I got to kind of move this around as I go. Okay, this is why I might need help, so I can always ask a friend for help. Again, I'm getting those edges nice and tight, and I'm getting this all put along nice and stuck to my K here. If I had any, if I were doing something like an R and I had something in the middle, I would do that part first. Then I would go back and do the outside. All right, keep going here. I'm going pretty fast here for the sake of the movie makings, okay? You will probably go slower. So I'm going pretty fast. I am getting this in. I want to get that nice and stuck. It's okay if your slipping and scoring kind of goes outside the lines on this one, because no one's going to see the inside. No one's going to see the inside. But I want to make sure that I'm getting this nice and stuck on. Kind of being careful here. And then I also want to make sure that when I am finishing up the edges, that I am going to slip and score those pieces together. All right, let's get this through here. Ooh, just enough. Cool. Just right off the side here. Cool beans, cool beans. Okay, then I would go ahead and remember I'm going to cut this just down here, and then I would slip and score these pieces over here together, making sure that that's nice and up top. Okay, now that I've gotten that done, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this side of my K here, and I am going to put it right on top so my texture is right there, and I'm going to make sure I get that nice and stuck on the sides here. Make sure that's nice and lined up. I'm going to be listening for those clay farts if I can. Mine are pretty soft here. Pretty soft. I want to make sure that this is pretty. There we go. All right. Then the last couple of things that I need to do to finish this piece up is, right now we have a three-dimensional structure going on, but it's kind of not as clean. Part of the thing that I needed to do was make clean lines and textures. So I noticed that the edges have lots of goobers on them, and I need to go through and clean that up. A couple things is, first, on the bottom of my K here, I'm going to scooch this around here. And on the bottom here, because it's hollow inside, I need to make a couple holes so that it can dry out on the inside, so that the inside can dry out. And then I'll also need to get my name and class code on the bottom. But then there's a couple ways I could do these textures. I could, on the sides here, get this standing up a bit. On the sides here, what I could do is I could clean this up with my finger, like this. I could use a texture rolling tool to make nice clean edges into my sides. And I could take some of my tools and get these seams kind of mushed together and kind of smooth together. The last thing I could also do is take something like one of these really smooth sides and kind of smooth it down. I could kind of smooth it down. If your clay is kind of wishy-washy and it's kind of wiggling everywhere, like getting it smoothed down and cleaning it up, if it's kind of wiggling and wobbling everywhere, you might not just need to take a day and let it dry out a little bit so that it's easier to work with the next time. Happy creating!